We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Bob Arum rips into Devin Haney's performance versus his old fighter, Jose Ramirez. He says Devin Haney's performance, it was disgraceful. Let's talk about it right about now in this video. Now, Bob Arum, I think Bob is at the age where he don't really give a, he like, I've done so much, I've seen so much, I'm gonna just say what it is. And Bob Arum, I feel like he'll be more biased when it's directly connected to him, like Lomachenko, like a fighter that's still with Top Rank. You know, he's not gonna necessarily keep it real in that regard. But when you're talking about things that don't really involve Top Rank, I feel like you get pretty much good honesty out of his assessments on upcoming fights, performances, stuff like that. Where it gets tricky is if you're talking about one of his current fighters. That being said, he had some words for Devin Haney and his performance. Now, people are reporting that Devin made upwards of $10 million for the fight with Ramirez. So that is great money in the world of boxing. The performance, unfortunately, didn't match. Bob Arum says, quote, "In the old days, where we had a fighter like Sugar Ray Leonard or Oscar De La Hoya." That's how Bob would say it. "They had reason to give the crowd a really entertaining fight because their next fight was already agreed to, but they stood to make extra money from the pay-per-view, from the gate. So there was always incentive for them to look good." This is Bob Arum. "Now that incentive is gone because they've been promised great money for their next fight. Their only sure way is they're going to get the money is to not engage in a fight. Devin Haney is a very good fighter. You saw the fight with Jose Ramirez. That was disgraceful." That was an absolute disgrace. But if you're Devin Haney and you're getting good money for the fight against Ramirez, and you're going to get super money to fight Ryan Garcia because it was assumed that Ryan Garcia would win, then why would you take any risks? But that's not good for boxing. That is actually terrible for boxing. End quote. Now, I tell you guys, I am the best in the business, and it's not even close. You can listen to me or you can listen to Brand X, but Boxing Ego, per usual, I'm dead on. I tell you the business, the boxing, the sweet science, I give you it all. There's a lot of low quality content, but I keep proving my worth in this game. Listen to the people who have been in the industry, fighters, former fighters, champions, current champions, trainers. They talk like Boxing Ego. The stuff I say, you later hear out of their mouth. This is no exception. Bob Arum is telling you verbatim what I said in my video regarding incentive, when and why, like, his program is not advantageous for the sport of boxing. That's why I love my job, because the work I do is for the internet, for all to see. It's free. You click on the video, you get gamed up, and, you know, hopefully hit the like, subscribe button, all that. But it's that simple. The breadcrumbs are there. So you don't have to take my word for it, because there's a lot of people that try to be like me. So what they'll do is they'll try to claim credit for stuff they didn't even really say in real time. But after, when it's laid out, then they'll say, "Oh, see, I told you guys," but they didn't really tell you. I say it because I really told you. What Arum is saying, the videos are all there. I said that. What Turkey is doing is bad for boxing in the sense of, when, one, you're overpaying fighters. That's automatic no-no. Because if you're overpaying people, then you're messing up the market. And, like, I'm not trying to, I don't really want to get into a deeper conversation because I don't want this video to go too long. I'm not trying to put a value on a fighter's life because they are risking their life in the fight. But if there's a certain market value, you know, and the top of the food chains are the Canelos and Gervonta Davis, and then there's a middle of the pack, and then there's journeymen or whatever, you got to kind of fit into the category. So when you got journeymen who are making more than what other people should make, you know, you're just throwing off the whole hierarchy. You know what I mean? Because you're putting people on pay-per-view, for example, like Shakur Stevenson, and then he don't even have to get the fans to like him. He doesn't have to really promote the fight. And then, for example, he don't even have to have a fight that the fans like, and he's still getting paid the same. You know what I mean? So when you're throwing crazy money at people, then they're going to do stuff. The other side, which I've already documented on my previous videos and my reports, is the other side of that coin is this, is you got fighters who they're going to be risk adverse when it comes to, if they're promised a very lucrative fight next and all they have to do is get past interim guy A, then nobody in their right mind is going to want to not complete the mission and get upset and then not secure the next big bag. So if in knowing that you realize that, hey, if I don't get past Jose Ramirez, then I don't get the next assignment, you know what I mean? Then that's going to be a problem. And then what you could end up having is fighters who fight like Devin Haney fought against Ramirez, not really taking any chances, knowing he could probably press the gas because it's already been affirmed to him that get past this, you got the Ryan Garcia fight in the third, fourth quarter of this year. That's not good for boxing. You shouldn't have really ish until you handle what's on your plate. Like, my dad was in the military. I come from a military home. There's definite structure, right? My parents had structure. We couldn't eat dessert without clearing some vegetables and eating the actual meal. That's just how I don't know what people do now because a lot of parents don't even parent their kids. But back when I was growing up, the household had rules. You couldn't just skip to the fun parts, right? You couldn't just get straight F's and bad grades and then go outside and play and have pizza parties and elaborate birthday party. That's not how it happened. You had to complete certain things. And I'm very grateful for my parents that they raised me and my siblings like this, because I wouldn't want it any other way. But in essence, that's what Turkey's kind of doing, rewarding bad behavior, right? Bad behavior is essentially being rewarded by overpaying guys, promising guys other bigger fights and bigger purses, no matter what. Like, that is what is, if I've been in the game for over 10 years, top of the charts, highest of levels, respected. And I'm telling you, with this new generation where boxing is social media, that is one of the biggest problems that our sport is facing. Is you got guys where, don't take my word for it, just hear me out and then look yourself and tell me I'm wrong. You got guys who they're kind of unlikable. They're not making themselves open to the public. They're closed off. They're confrontational with fans. They're confrontational with media. They don't do interviews, right? This closed offness and trying to isolate yourself, trust me, there's been other fighters in the past that didn't really enjoy media obligations, but it's part of the job. You want the public to buy into what you're doing, pay you money, or buy your pay-per-view or merchandise, but then you don't want to give back nothing, right? There's a video right now of Devin Haney, and some TikToker was trying to ask him a few questions while he was on a stroll with his girl, right? Devin's like, nah, I don't want to answer no question. Nah, I'm not doing no interviews. And he kept walking. And the guy's like, hey, man, can you just say one thing, a message to the kids? And Devin's like, nah. And, you know, he kind of walks off, right? I get it. I'm a reasonable person. You know, celebrity or not, people, they have privacy, and it's just what it is. You know, you're on a date or shopping or whatever. Maybe you're not in the mood to answer questions. I understand that, you know, because you're a celebrity. You're not going to want 24/7 paparazzi. But first things first, let's be clear. Devin Haney is a celebrity, but he's no Justin Bieber in his prime, Michael Jackson, you know, Chris Brown, where those are the type of celebrities. Literally, Justin Bieber, it'd be 6 a.m. and he hop in his whip or go like start making his way towards his whip, and the paparazzi's outside his house, like camped out, and they was waiting for him to wake up and leave. Devin Haney, I don't think he has that type of limelight right now. So that's for one thing, you know what I mean? So it's not like you're being bombarded like The Rock or something, where The Rock couldn't go to Costco or grocery shopping because it would cause a frenzy. You know what I mean? He'd have to have like access to the tunnels and stuff in venues, and so he can't just walk through the front door. That would cause a, you know, frenzy. So there's that. But more importantly, with the Devin situation, with not answering the question, is like, at some point, I get privacy and you don't necessarily want to answer questions while you're living your personal life or whatever. But the guy said, say a message for the kids, and you're like, nah, I don't want to, blah, blah, blah. I feel like at that point, even if the guy was being intrusive, you felt, or you truly didn't, you could have said a quick message for the kids. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't say nothing out of pocket, like, you know, what's your favorite place to eat or something like that you really just don't have the time for. He said a message to the kid, and Devin just walked off. You see what I'm saying? And it's this type of behavior that this doesn't really bring the fans closer to you. They already didn't like pretty much your last two performances, Ryan Garcia and Jose Ramirez. And then videos like this get posted, and then they see you like confrontational with a TikToker or fighting at the fair or not wanting to answer questions. You know, there's rumors he pushed some old lady with the commission in New York, all these types of things. And, you know, it just, and it's not just Devin. I'm not even just talking about Devin. I know I gave examples of Devin particularly, but now y'all got me ranting. I'm in the mood to rant. You got to deal with the ego rants. You come to Box of Ego, you're going to deal with some ego rants, because this is the game as I see it. And the reality is, this is what it is. You got a lot of guys, they're not really making themselves available, making themselves likable, right? Shakur Stevenson arguing with fans and all this type of stuff on Twitter. So that's one of the big things hurting the game right now. And what Turkey is doing and Ring, it is complicit in this. It really is, because you agree to, let's say you want to map out the next thing. You're like, oh, we want Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. First of all, I've said it many times, boxing does not work like that. You can't just map things out. Like, you can't say, oh, yo, if this guy wins and this guy wins, then we're doing this, because you don't even get to that and somebody gets upset. Somebody fails a drug test. Somebody pulls out with injury. Somebody looks horrible. That's boxing for you. You can't control the variables. You can't, I call it playing God. You can't play God in a sport like boxing, because you truly don't know what's going to happen. You have a heavyweight former champion, multiple time heavyweight champion in Anthony Joshua. With me, it's mud, right? They asked him on DAZN what his prediction was for Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen. Johnny Fisher, mind you, was supposed to be kind of the next big thing in the heavyweight for Eddie Hearn, like kind of like white Anthony Joshua, if you will, right? The next heavyweight he was going to promote that was supposed to be a big deal and really good, right? Dave Allen, he's a fighter that I believe he was retired. There's videos of him being knocked out essentially by Usyk in sparring. He's been beaten. He's been stopped. And he's considered a guy who's kind of was counted out, right? Joshua, they asked him on DAZN, who wins the rematch that just happened? Joshua was like, yeah, I got to go with Johnny Fisher. I think he'll be wanting to prove he got a thing to prove. He's going to prove it, right? And he's like, oh, he's going to prove it. He wants to shut up the doubters, blah, blah, blah. This man got knocked out crazy. Like, I'm talking about knockout of the year type crazy, where he was getting bullied, he was hurt, and he was already badly hurt, not really reacting well. And then Dave Allen sent the last shot. It was like this swiping punch, like a hook. It hooked off on him, and he face plants. And then you see the towel being thrown in at the same time as he's falling. It was like some crazy cinematic sequence. Flying white towel because his corner threw in the towel. And you have Dave Allen doing this crushing blow, and a bigger fighter, because Johnny Fisher is bigger than him, flying face forward, being knocked out, right? So I said that to say this. Boxing works like that. It's unpredictable. You have somebody who's a former 2X champion like Joshua, and he can't pick and predict accurately who is going to win in his division, right? And he's probably in tune more with the UK stuff because he sparred with Johnny Fisher and stuff like that. So he thought the wrong guy was going to win, and he said respect to both, but Johnny Fisher going to get it done. So that's the thing, and that's also what makes me great. Boxing ego, the best in the business, and it's not even close. People are like, oh, you're not a pro boxer, you don't box. But guess what? The people that do box, like Anthony Joshua, just picked the wrong guy again. You know what I mean? And you see that a lot of times. Oh, I sparred this guy. Oh, I know him on a personal level. We had a conversation, so I don't want to go against him publicly. Boxing ego don't do that. I give you my honest take, and may the chips fall where they may. You know what I mean? I don't have like, because it's nothing personal to me. It's just I'm doing my job. If I'm going to break down a fight, I got to break down the strengths and weaknesses. But the whole rant that I'm giving right now is the sheer unpredictable nature of boxing. That's why what Turkey's doing, I've said from the beginning, it will not work in boxing. You can plan for Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. You can plan all these things in your head, like, oh, I want it to be like a video game. Fight in Times Square in the street. But then ideas like that, to me, the Times Square fight didn't really come off. They're like, oh, people are going to be talking about this for 50 years. Yeah, right. It was not a success to me. Everybody was bored out of their mind watching it. People flew to it, trying to cover it or watch it. And they said they were denied access and it was VIP only. And that's not the AI vision and mock-up that they showed when they were first previewing the fight. They made it sound like it was going to be a ring in the middle of Times Square and 500,000 people were going to be surrounding it. And that's simply put, that's not what happened. So for these reasons, again, you could say, oh, we'll do a rematch Haney Garcia, but in putting them obstacles before Devin and Ryan loses. So we haven't even seen Ryan. He's normally pretty talkative. He lost to Rolly, got dropped by Rolly. I don't even know where he's at, right? Devin Haney, he won his fight, but he won in a fashion that didn't really turn on fans and generate new fans. Haneyacks, yeah, they're going to be like, this is great, masterclass boxing. But the rest of us who are being fair and objective were like, man, I think you probably should have did a bit more with that version of a Jose Ramirez, right? But he didn't take no chances. This is what Bob Arum is telling you. The same thing Boxing Ego's been telling you. And again, you got to really plant the blame where it belongs, on the fighters and the organizers, because when you organize things, like I've said throughout this video, in such a fashion where the fighter has no real incentive to go for broke, that is not great for boxing. You might as well have the WWE and have it scripted, because if you tell a fighter, hey, get past this guy, and then I got 40 million for you, then guess what? At all costs, that fighter is not going to want to make any mistakes that would cause the collapse of that next paycheck, period. Like, for example, let's say Turkey says, oh, college students, in this English class, I want you to write me a paper. And no matter what, as long as you complete the paper, it doesn't matter if there's grammatical errors, spelling errors, if it's a good paper, bad paper, no matter what, you will have a passing grade. And we're going to give everybody that turns in the paper on time $2,500, right? Then you don't really have to care if it's a good paper. You don't have to document. All you have to do is make it 7 pages long and turn it in by the due date, if that's what was outlined. You can see how that wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be a good program for students because you're not really producing the best at that point. You're producing people who, if anything, are going to go through the motions to get that paper turned in to cash in on the $2,500. You're going to have even dumb students like that aren't really smart or great writers that they're like, man, all I got to do is write a 7-page paper. You're not going to be really critical in grading it. And I get $2,500. Count me in. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, maybe everyone in the class will turn in their paper, but at what cost? It's not really effective. That's not turning over great students. It's not turning these people into novelists and things like that. It's just a bunch of people going to be turning in crummy papers, trying to hit the 2,500 and automatically pass the class. So that's why you don't set it up like that. Now, if you did a real contest, like the one person, I don't believe in participation trophies. I've said that for years on my channel. I never have and I never will. Nothing you can say that can convince me. Participation trophies for society, terrible idea, right? Because same analogy, if you had a professor and they said, yo, write the best 7-page essay on this topic that you can, and the one winner is going to win $2,500 and automatically pass the class and then that's cool. Or I'm going to be grading like normal. Anybody who gets an A, they will right? That is a better program than the program that says just turn in the paper and then you'll get a passing grade and you'll receive the reward money, right? That's essentially what Turkey is doing. Devin Haney, he can perform just how he did, and Turkey's going to work with him for his very next fight. And it doesn't matter if he helped sell any pay-per-views. It doesn't matter if he had a good, strong performance, right? Boxing, I hate to say it, it got to get back more cutthroat, more gritty, more grimy. This is like some weakened society type of stuff where you don't, like I said, a lot of these fighters aren't even making themselves approachable. I give props to Edgar Berlanga for this. Edgar Berlanga, I know Shakur, he's like, oh, how can I not be the main event? But let's be real. Edgar Berlanga, I'm not saying everybody likes him because I see a lot of people that don't like him. But he's making himself a villain. He's making himself flashy, and he's making himself apparent. So whether you like him or not, you maybe want to see him get knocked out by Hamza Shiraz. He's doing a good job promoting. Maybe you like him. Maybe you're from Brooklyn and you like talk your talk. But I can respect, at least he's trying to make it interesting, and he has a fight style that typically is exciting, right? That is good for boxing. You know, even guys like Keyshawn Davis, right? Keyshawn Davis, pretty similar, right? He's outspoken. He'll do a live. He'll talk his talk. Like, there's a lot he says I don't even agree with, but I can still respect the effort that you're trying to treat your brand like a business and get in front of the public. People are going to like it or not, but you're still doing a better job than the people who are not out there, refuse to do any interviews. I'm a good fighter, but I'm going to stay in my room until fight week, right? You're just not going to appeal to the public the same. Now, back to Bob Arum's comments about Devin Haney being disgraceful or looking disgraceful versus Jose Ramirez. Very funny. Notice the Haney-act content creators refuse to talk about this. They won't tell you anything about this. They'll act like sweep it under the rug and pretend that Bob Arum never even said this. They won't make content about it. They won't make videos about it. They'll just pretend it never existed. But let Bob Arum say what he said about Canelo. I guarantee you they'll rush and do a video because he pretty much badmouthed Canelo and says Canelo's only fighting for the money. So you see how content creators are very well cherry picking the boxing news and the boxing information, which is why you turn to Boxing Ego, because I don't duck or dodge any topic. I'm really about this. I don't care who said what. I'm gonna give you guys my take. If it's trending, if it's worthy of a video, I'm gonna tell you what I think. However, you look at, again, the Haney content creators, they're not gonna make content about this brand new interview that Bob Arum did where he said Devin Haney looks disgraceful. They only want to tell you, oh, Devin Haney this, he's the golden child, he's the dream, he's the, walks on water and all this type of stuff. That is just not realistic. Devin Haney has real life questions that people thought the Ramirez fight could answer. If anything, his performance gave people more questions than they had initially. Because is this the new Devin Haney going forward? Is this what fans have to look forward to? Is Devin Haney on like bicycle time and I'm not taking chances? I'm not standing in front of you. I'm really just, you dig? Like, I'm gonna be the guy who tries to fight smarter, even at the expense of it being boring or whatever. So for me, I agree with Bob Arum. Disgraceful. I agree with it. And it's funny that I say it. I'm the bad guy. I'm the villain. Bob Arum said, you got a Jewish man from New York. He said it, and then everybody just accepted. But when I said it, I'm a hater. Don't know what I'm talking about, all that type of stuff. And Bob Arum said literally after me what I've already told you on my channel. So I find that funny too. I find it funny how that works. Funny how that works indeed. I say it, I'm the villain, I'm the bad guy. This channel stinks and all that. But then Bob Arum be saying the same thing and everyone just accepts it or ignores it. But when I say it's a problem, the bottom line, Devin didn't look good. I told you that. He didn't look good. He won. I give, okay, credit. You win. And, you get to live to fight another day, look at tape, maybe improve in areas. But it still don't take away from the fight wasn't entertaining. The fight was one mode. And I keep saying this when I'm talking about this fight. I think the biggest issue that I had with the performance is how many rounds you did that. Like, you went the full 12 rounds fighting like that. If you went 4 or 5, maybe even 6 rounds, half the fight, and you fought like that, and then you seen that Ramirez wasn't looking like this massive threat. He wasn't athletically better than you. He wasn't faster than you. He didn't look like he had spruce and pep in his step. I feel like at that point, you should have been like, all right, yo, let's go. At the end of the day, he can't match me. He's not on my level. Let's step on the gas. And Devin didn't. So that shows you got some real life demons and cobwebs still in there from the Ryan fight, because it was what you were in there with. If you were fighting Tio or something, or Boots, or somebody who's just regarded and probably fresher, I wouldn't have even tripped. I'd be like, all right, 4 or 5 rounds of this. You have to really maybe gauge Jaron Ennis's power, and you don't want to get clipped early and caught cold. But you were in there with Jose Ramirez, who definitely didn't look fresh. He didn't look fresh. He looked every bit of his age, and you didn't look like you had the authoritative style to know what you want to do and find a way to, cut that short. And it's not about just getting stoppages. Some guys don't have power like that, so they never have like Wilder type stoppages. However, it looked like you could maybe hurt him, but you were going to have to fight it. You were going to have to take a couple of chances. That's why Bob Arum, he's absolutely right. Disgraceful performance. And again, you got to blame the fighter. He's the one that did it. Blame the team. They're the one that drew up this game plan. But you also got to blame Turkey and the organizers, because this is what you're going to get from boxing. If you tell people their next move and all they got to do is clear this guy to get their next paycheck, then where's the incentive to go above and beyond, right? When you got people who are complacent and content. Look at Canelo. Canelo beat William Skull, and in the Crawford fights right there, we're gonna give you $100 million. So you have the same lackadaisical Canelo Alvarez. He looked slow as ever. It looked like he had cement shoes on. He had no hunger. He had no real willpower and firepower to no desire to like try to stop William Skull or nothing. He just seemed like, man, I'm tired of chasing this dude. He was looking old and decrepit, right? All these examples I'm giving, the fighter knows their next fight. So, and if anything, it's just a distraction. You know what I mean? When you have everything mapped out and oh, I gotta win here, that's just in the distraction, because it's like you have to impress. It's just like some people when they fight at home, you have a hometown crowd, people you went to school with. That could be a curse because, again, it's a distraction. You see your old teacher, you get knocked down, you look up in the crowd, see your old teacher, and she's looking worried for you. You know what I mean? All these things are distractions. So I agree with Arum here. Devin, his performance was pretty disgraceful. And like I said, you're probably going to expect more of this from the turkey shows until they figure that out. Like, nothing should be promised. And I have a big feeling, based on reports and stuff that have been out, that these fighters are being pretty much assured certain paychecks and certain, as long as you clear what's in front of you, we can stick to the initial plan. And you shouldn't. Like me, if I was Turkey, and I don't like giving too many ideas because my ideas cost money. So I don't like giving too many ideas for free. I'm just doing this for boxing fans, but other people watch my content, and I don't like giving them ideas for how to run their business for free. If you want to consult and do a consultation with Boxing Ego, that can be arranged. But the reality is, there should be a better program in terms of like, hey, if we don't get good ratings on this, if we don't sell good on this, I can't give you this paycheck. Like, you have to be in society. I think you have to truly hold your own weight and be able to like carry some of the load and be a team player, so to speak. Like, for example, let's say Warner Brothers and Ryan Coogler. The reason Ryan Coogler keeps getting big budget movies like Black Panther, and they're now giving him X-Files, and they gave him Sinners. Not gave him, it's his movie. But what I'm saying is they're allowing him to put out these movies and get certain deals with the Warner Brothers and having these big budgets, is because he's bankable. If you look, Hollywood is the great example of a business run in the right way. In the 90s, Tom Cruise and Will Smith, even to this day, but definitely in the 90s, Mission Impossibles and Independence Days, Minority Report, Bad Boys, like, these are bankable stars. That's why they kept getting highest paid, right? You have Chris Tucker in Rush Hour. At one point, he was like the highest paid guy in Hollywood because the Rush Hour movies were insanely profitable and very funny, classics. I love Rush Hour 1 and 2. You know what I mean? So that's how business should run. Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, they put up Rush Hour and it's an instant classic. Guess what? The sequel, you getting paid more and you get your percentage of this, or Jackie Chan gets a percentage of the proceeds in China or whatever, right? That's how it should run. You are being paid directly in proportion to results and what you can help to produce. But imagine if Devin Haney was a movie director, or Shakur Stevenson, or Ryan Garcia, or Barbosa, right? These people, Canelo, all these guys had very bad performances, right? Very bad performances. So you just get top dollar and put on the next big show with those type of performances. Like, it has to be some kind of give. Like, again, the harder you work, the more you can give back and get people their buy-in, then everything should come your way that you deserve. But you shouldn't be able to not promote, have bad performances, have recent bad performances, and then still get overpaid. And then you don't have to worry about selling tickets. You don't have to go above and beyond. All you got to do is do the fight and not even look good. And then you get the guaranteed next bag. This is just really wrecking boxing. And that's what Bob Arum was saying. That's what I've been telling you guys. And we still on that. We unpacked.